So today while I was at work, I came across this video here on YouTube by Nice Gaming, and the video's title was Ashes of Creation has a PvX problem. And because I know how titles work on YouTube, I immediately started thinking, like, what mildly innocuous thing is this going to be, directing to, or how is he going to flip it around and make it a positive or whatever? That's generally what a lot of YouTubers are doing right now because it gets the clicks and it works. And I understand it. I do it myself. So this is a response video, not a reaction video, meaning we are not going to watch it here live right now. That's not how we're going to do this. I will put a link to his video in the description below, and if you're interested, go watch it and subscribe to his channel while you're over there. If you're not already subscribed, I know a lot of the Ashes community has to be subscribed to him by now because he's been putting out a lot of really great Ashes content. So go check it out, and then you can come back over here and then get my response to it, or you can just accept this brief synopsis of his video. Basically, all he is saying is that the difference between tanking when you're in PvE and the difference between tanking when you're in PvP makes any MMO, all MMOs, feel janky and weird, and he's wondering and then speculating about what the solutions for that could be for Intrepid and Ashes of Creation. That's basically the gist of the video. So one of the things he talks about in his video is the difference between tanking in PvE versus tanking in PvP. And he talks a little bit about that, but I did want to bring a little bit more light, shed a little more light on that. And to me, that it is that difference that you're talking about there versus the difference between PvE and PvP when you're talking about DPS or heals. So with DPS or heals, their role in the group, whether it's PvP or PvE, is to try to stay alive and then either do as much damage as possible or do as much healing as possible, keep other people alive. It doesn't matter if it's PvE or PvP, their job stays the same. In PvE, the role of a tank is to hold aggro, perform mechanics, and mitigate damage through a use of different cooldowns and mechanics. And then when you switch it over to PvP, the role of a tank switches to like a controller, harasser, CC'er, interrupter kind of role. It's not the same thing. And so it's two different skill sets, and so therefore a lot of times the best PvE tanks are not the best PvP tanks, and vice versa, although that's not always the truth. So the question that he's proposing in this video is, how do you meld them? How do you put them together so that what you have is the same whether you're doing PvP or PvE? And then it would be even better if it was the same whether you're doing PvE or small scale PvP or large scale PvP. Make it be universal across the way. And he brings up a whole bunch of ideas and throws a lot of things out there. One of them in particular that I really liked was an ability that the tank could put up, and it would put, let's say, he described it as a blue shield on a certain number of teammates or a certain number of people who are close to you or whatever, and then a red shield on the tank. And the people who have blue shields either wouldn't take damage or take drastically reduced damage until you break the red shield that's on the tank, which would force the aggro onto the tank even in PvP scenarios. That's actually a brilliant idea, and it works really, really well within the context of everything that we're talking about here. I wanted to just throw this at you and see what you think, because there was a word you used over and over and over again in your video, and I kept hoping that you would take the next step in that thought process. And maybe I've thought about it and taken the next step because I'm obsessive over these types of things, and I shouldn't be expecting that of you, but that's not the point. The word you kept using was threat, and you kept using it within the context of a threat chart. So, there's a thing that says Zillion at the top, and Zillion has 1 million threat, and then Nice Gaming has 850,000, and then, whatever, Narc has 600,000, and Roar has 500,000, whatever. It's all the way down the list, right? That's a great mechanic for competitive, tightly tuned raiding, like making raids make sense, making tanks make sense in the context of raids. But it's not great for PvE, and it's awful for PvP because it doesn't matter how much threat you have. The person that is attacking you or could be attacking you, they have choice. And I'm not a big fan of, like, I know I've seen some people that suggest, like when you taunt someone, they should have to attack you or something. I don't like that. I don't like taking away choice from the player. Give the players the choice. What you should do is make the tank a threat. Instead of making the tank generate threat, make the tank a threat. the biggest threat, the thing that has to be wiped off the battlefield before you can go on to other things. So an idea that I've had within the context of that is you could do this differently for each of the 64 different, or I guess it'd be 8 different tank archetypes. So this one would just be the bard, the tank bard, which I believe is called an Argent. What if the tank bard generated an aura that increased the DPS of everyone around him by something crazy, like make it be substantial, like you have to get that aura out of there. And then you could make it where if there was 2 tanks and their auras overlapped, you don't want to cross streams. If their auras overlapped, to whatever degree that their auras have overlapped, it reduces the effectiveness of it by that percentage, so that you couldn't just stack tank auras like that. And then you just go along to each individual tank class and you give them something like that, something very similar that boosts something that they're able to do, where they make, basically the tank makes the teammate such a threat, and the only way to stop him from making the teammates a threat is take him out, which innately makes him the threat instead of making him generate threat. That is one of the ideas that I've had recently, and there's a bunch of different ways you could do this. And you pointed out some of them in your video. Other people have pointed out some of them in other videos, and I'm sure Intrepid is thinking a lot about it. But that was my big takeaway, was you kept saying the word threat, and in terms of a threat chart, and I kept thinking of the word threat in terms of make the tank be the one that has to be killed first. And then you could easily code that into the AI. The AI could just automatically know if the tank is using this specific ability, he has to be taken out, because otherwise, we're going to take much damage. It doesn't matter. You don't have to explain to the computer why they have to take it out. You just let the computer know, hey, by the way, if the tank is using this ability or this thing is active, then this person becomes the #1 threat, and then you accomplish that goal of having tanking be the same in PvP as it is in PvE. Now that leads into the next part of that equation, which is how do you handle raids, and what do you do with raids, and specifically tanks in raids, and even more specifically multiple tanks in raids, that accommodates that new style of making the tank the threat instead of being the one who's ignored, which is what logically you should do, because they hit like a wet noodle. They're not doing anything. But if you make them do something, then they become the threat, and they become the thing that you want to attack. So Nice Gaming put this video out as a call, said, hey, I want answers. I want people to theorcraft. Give me your suggestions. And so I'm going to say the same thing in my comment section. If you have more suggestions, throw them at us. I'm sure that he will read them, because my guess is he'll see this video. So he can see them and have some answers. And Intrepid watches a lot of the content creators' content, and they read the comments too. So you may just have Steven or Margaret or somebody important reading your comment if you leave it. So leave a comment down in the comment section and let me know what you think about how they can make tanks more consistent across the different game modes. And that's all I have, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.